Hello YouTube viewers, my name is Alan, and today I'm going to be building my very first gaming rig. I've never built a PC from scratch before. I have replaced different parts on different rigs, you know, graphics card, power supply, RAM, but I've never had to build one from scratch. So hopefully in a few hours I'm not pulling my hair out. Oh, no hair. So, I'm sort of going for a mid-level gaming build. I set myself a budget, so I tried to stick within that budget. I don't want to go over the top and buy loads of expensive parts because I don't really do that much PC gaming. I plan to play games like League of Legends, DayZ Standalone, and when it comes out, Star Citizen. So without further ado, I will show you the parts that I'm going to be using. If you want a breakdown of the parts and the costs, I'm going to put that in the description. So, processor I'm going to be using is an AMD FX 6300 Black Edition, 6 cores, clocked at 3.5 GHz, and I'm going to be overclocking it, probably to 4 GHz. Thermal paste I'm going to be using is Arctic MX4. Power supply is a Corsair Builder Series CX 500 watt. Motherboard is an MSI 970A G43. Graphics card, a Sapphire Radeon Dual-X R9 270X, 2 GB, and the RAM 16 GB of G-Twin Ripjaws RAM, overclockable to 2133 MHz. It is clocked to 1800, but it is overclockable to 2133, and the motherboard thankfully does support that, so I'm going to overclock the RAM as well. I am going for a solid state hard disk, a Samsung 840 EVO, 250 GB. So I'm going to be running my operating system, programs, and some games from this. I have also bought a solid state drive upgrade kit, which is going to allow me to clone the hard drive that I've got in my current PC at the moment, because I want to just keep my operating system that I've got in that at the moment. So that's going to be completely cloned onto this. And then the hard drive that I've got in my current PC, a Western Digital 1TB SATA drive, I'm just going to use that for storage of movies and shit like that. So next, what do you call these again? Anti-static wrist strap, very important. And also for the CPU cooler, we have the Cooler Master Seidon 120V liquid CPU cooler, which hopefully should allow me to overclock quite a bit. I've heard of this processor, the AMD 6300. People on YouTube getting some really good overclocks from it, like up to 4.5 GHz stable. And at the moment it's clocked at, why is that not focusing? It's 3.5 GHz at the moment, so even if I get it to 4 GHz I'll be happy, but some people are able to get it even higher, like 4.5 GHz stable. I also have disk bay conversion kit, PWM fan splitter. The case is a Corsair Carbide Spec 01 case. And for the money that I paid for this case, it's really good. It was only £35, and it comes with a window, it comes with one 120mm case fan. It can take another 4 fans. It can either have two 140mm case fans at the front, or two 120s. Two 120s at the top, and one 120 at the back. And the extra fans I bought are two Arctic F12 PWM fans. Now I'm going to mount those as exhaust fans at the top. And I bought another red LED fan for the front. So these two exhaust fans are PWM fans, and the two 120s at the front are 3-pin fans. So I'm not going to film myself actually assembling it, I'm just going to film each stage because I can't hold a camera and a screwdriver at the same time. Okay, bye bye. So here we are back again. First stage of the build, fitted the power supply and the motherboard. Only things I've connected so far is the power connector for the motherboard and the CPU. Next I'm going to fit the CPU and the fans, and then the CPU cooler. The fan for the CPU cooler I'm going to be fitting here, so that's going to be sucking cold air from the back of the case, blowing it over the radiator for the CPU cooler, and then these two fans are going to suck out all the hot air from the inside of the case. The only thing that hasn't arrived yet is a 3-pin splitter cable, which is going to come from one of these Molex connectors. That's for these two fans. Now, the reason I can't connect these two fans to the motherboard is because there's only one 3-pin fan connector, and that's going to be used for the water pump on the CPU cooler. So these two PWM fans here are going to go via this PWM fan connector, which is also going to be using a splitter cable. And then these two fans are going to be powered straight from a Molex connector. Alright, so fitted the CPU, fitted the fan for the radiator and the radiator, and there's the block here for the CPU cooler. To fit that damn bracket, which you can see the screws for it there, I had to take out the motherboard again and unscrew it because the bracket wouldn't fit while the motherboard was still screwed in. And sadly I've had to take out this fan here that I'd mounted, so I'm only going to have one 120mm fan as an exhaust fan at the top because there's just no space for it here with the radiator for the CPU. So the other Arctic fan I had, this kind, I've replaced the stock case fan, which was a red LED fan, and I've mounted the Arctic fan here. So I'm going to have two PWM fans, intake and exhaust fan, both PWM, and then the other LED fan I have is going to be at the bottom, a Corsair fan. So that's the only 3-pin fan right here. So next stage is fitting the block for the CPU, and I'm using Arctic MX4 thermal paste. And that is that. So I've applied the thermal paste. I'm using the P method, and that should be more than enough. Tiny pea size drop, but the same size as these capacitors here. And the tape is off the heatsink. So now I'm gonna apply the block. Right, so CPU cooling block is fitted. A 3-pin for the water pump is fitted here, and CPU fan controller is plugged in here to the 4-pin connection. RAM is fitted, 16 gigabytes, and now I'm going to fit the graphics card. It's a Radeon R9 270X. It's got a beast of a heatsink on it. 2 fans. Very nice. So I installed the graphics card, plugged it in, and then I've realised that I still have to connect all the case connectors, and they're right under here. So I'm going to have to take the graphics card back out again. This was a bitch to try and take off. For some reason that screw doesn't come out, so I had to twist the whole thing up. So I'm going to have to start again, take the graphics card out, connect all these case connectors for power, reset, LEDs, etc. So I've fitted the case connectors, which is this one right there. That's for power, reset switch, and also USB 3, USB 1, and also the audio connectors. So I think now I'm going to mount the graphics card here, just to leave a bit of room here between the PSU and the graphics card. So I don't know how much heat this is going to generate, so I'm going to mount the graphics card here now. Huzzah! Almost done. Almost done. It's been a long day. I've probably been at this like 4 or 5 hours. Look at all these empty boxes. A lot of rubbish. The only thing left to do now is basically tidy up all these cables and make the case nice and neat inside. I've installed my 2 SATA hard drives, so once I'm ready to boot it, if everything's working, I'm going to install all the drivers, and then I'm going to clone this hard disk onto the solid state drive. Then I'll put the solid state drive in and then try and boot it with that to see if it's working. So here we go. Ta-da! So I've tidied away all the cables. I don't know how well you can see this, but all the spare power cables, I've just sort of bunched them up here and cable tied them. This main area is nice. And then if you look behind here, I don't know if it's too dark, but you can see where I've bunched up all the cables, then cable tied them to the back of the case to make it nice and neat. So now I'm basically ready to plug everything in and try and power it up, see if it'll work. So here it is, CPU killer, nice RAM, nice tidy cables. So hopefully it powers on and recognises everything first time. I've plugged everything in apart from a printer and scanner. Everything else is plugged in, ready to go. I'm just going to power it on and we'll see if it actually switches on. Please work. It's working. It's working. It's basically CPU or memory changed. Press F1 to run setup. So I'll run setup. I'll set up the BIOS. See if it's detecting everything. CPU currently at 39 degrees. Alright, fan's working, intake fan working, graphics card's fan's working, this fan working. Alright, so I'm now sitting with a cup of tea in my Mickey Mouse mug, because I'm feeling pretty satisfied right now. Everything's up and running, working, everything's good, it's nice and fast. Only thing was the fan for the CPU cooler, the fan that cools the radiator, anything above 80% it's really loud. So I went into the BIOS and I set it so that it stays at 50% and tries to keep the CPU below 50 degrees. And since I've done that, it's pretty quiet, so 50% is pretty quiet, anything up to 80%, and then it starts to get pretty annoying. So at the moment it's pretty quiet. If it keeps the temperature stable, I might change it down to like 30%, but I'm planning on overclocking, so we'll see how that goes. All the drivers and everything are installed. CPU Z, all CPU cores detected. What else? So next step, I'm going to clone my hard drive and stick in this solid state drive. The solid state hard drive. I couldn't believe how small it was when I took it out of the box. Here's my hand. And look at the size of this little thing, it's tiny. So that's a 250 gig Samsung Evo. And the upgrade kit, I've not read the instructions yet, but I'm assuming the hard drive goes in here, plugs in, and then I just use the software to clone my hard disk. Wish me luck. Mini cheddar to celebrate. So this is the day after. I installed the solid state drive. It was running really slow to start with, just because I hadn't installed the drivers and the Samsung software that comes with it. It comes with a program called Samsung Magician, and it optimizes the drive to give you the best speed. So after I did that, optimized it, and then enabled AHCI mode in the BIOS, it is blisteringly quick. Honestly, cannot believe the difference in speed going from SATA to solid state. It's amazing. Everything just happens instant. So to top it off, I've overclocked the processor to 4.1 GHz, and that's stable. The computer, I'd run a 3D Mark 11 on it, and it's getting 7447 as the overall score. Graphics score is 8169, with physics score of 5868, combined score of 5917. Those are all irrelevant really. The score that matters is the 7447. And Windows Index score 7.5. That's because the lowest, it goes by the lowest score. Max is 7.9. It goes from 1 to 7.9. Lowest score is 7.5. 7.9 for the hard disk. Gaming graphics, and then the RAM is 7.8. So, if you want to save yourself money and build a beast of a computer, do it yourself. Adios.